We appreciate you being here, and I think we're all interested in hearing how it's going, and I know you're excited to be back on the field.
Well, we are, Paul, and we've been through 7 days, 7 practices, excuse me, and we're going to practice again tomorrow, and then we're going to have another scrimmage on Saturday, and then our spring game will be the 17th of April. But, we have to find a quarterback. We believe in KJ Jefferson. Malik Hornsby's been there. We have to find a quarterback. We've got to find some D linemen. We think we have them there in Younger. Obviously, we lost John Marshall, who was arguably our best defensive player. And our secondary looks really good. Our linebackers, of course, Morgan's back, and Henry and Poole. That helps us. Have a lot of returning starters, have a lot of good battles going on. And we went in front of the public in a scrimmage last Saturday, or Saturday before last. So it's been going well, Paul.
For fans, we think we know how to identify a quarterback, but from a coaching standpoint, you with your coordinators and your assistants, what are you looking for right now in terms of trying to identify separation?
Well, right now we're looking for a guy just to run the offense, be able to have the right reads, understand where the reads are, understand the secondary pre-snap, things of that nature. We're looking for someone that builds confidence in our football team when he's behind the center. And then, in all honesty, I'm looking for a guy who can play and throw the ball and somebody can catch it. I mean, a lot of guys look good on air. A lot of guys look good in one-on-one non-team settings, but we're trying to find a guy that can go play well in a team setting. And to be honest with you, Paul, part of the reason that we've opened our scrimmages up, because I want our quarterbacks to feel a little bit more pressure. I think they'll feel that a little bit more with fans in the stands, and that's why we're doing it. A big part of it. Other reason is because we want the folks of our state to be able to see us play.
It's like that great story I heard once about the kicker coach. The head coach walked up to him, and the kicker said, "Hey, coach, I mean, with all due respect, you're making me nervous." And he said, "Well, there's going to be about 85,000 out there when we start." And I'm curious about that, Coach, because is there much difference when you're having a normal practice and nobody's there versus some family members and friends?
I think it's always been that way, Paul. Some guys play better with people in the stands, and some guys play worse. And we have to find that out this spring. And obviously, a guy can have a good day or a bad day. KJ Jefferson at the quarterback spot has proven that he can play SEC football and play it well with his one start that he had against Missouri last year. So we know that, but we're trying to put them in as difficult situations as we can. We ran the ball well, Paul. Our last scrimmage didn't protect it quite as well, held the ball quite a bit, a little longer than what we'd like to. The defense won the third down situations handedly. So those are some things we have to continue to work on. But we have 20 starters coming back from last year's team, and we've got some really, really good battles going on right now.
In terms of the younger players, the incoming players, this is something that years ago you didn't see, or you saw in specific skill positions. But how many do you have on the practice field right now that signed a couple of months ago, and the importance of that? What is it?
Very important. I think a lot of it is just a learning curve of being a college student, and the pace is slowed down where, when they get in here in the summer, it's class, it's workouts, it's all these things, it's learning the playbook. I think it slows down. I certainly think that helps. We have 13, which is the largest number I've been around, that came in January. And we're really pleased. Paul, to be honest with you, we didn't know what most of them looked like. We understood that this was their measurement, but sometimes it's not necessarily what you get whenever they get on campus. So we were very, very pleased with the way our kids look. They've been very, very disciplined here on our campus, and we've got some fine players in that group.
Coach, there's going to be a conversation soon, I hope, that the COVID year goes out the window. But everything that you were talking about a minute ago is a result of that. Recruiting has been different. Everything has been different. But as we turn the page out of this, we're hearing athletic directors talk about full stadiums. I know normalcy is an unusual word, but how close are you to normalcy, at least from a football standpoint?
I think we're close. I do believe, Paul, that it's going to be another month. The state of Arkansas has opened up with opportunities to get the COVID vaccination for our kids. We've had about 50 of them do that this week. We have some more slated to get it later on this week. The more folks that get the vaccine, and that's up to them, what they want to do. But the more folks that get it, obviously, the more normalcy we'll turn to. I do believe that by June, that it'll be pretty close to normal around here. Obviously, we're hoping that we'll have a chance to get recruits on campus, have camps, and I believe maybe June 1 we can get back to total close to what we're all used to and what we all love.
On that subject, and it's one we really don't talk about much, but I do think it's important, Coach. And young people and certainly a lot of folks just don't particularly want to get this vaccine. And I don't think either one of us would want to dictate what someone should or shouldn't do. But how do you try to educate your players on the vaccine?
The SEC's done a nice job of handing out information. Dr. O'Neill, who works out at LSU, and she's in the infectious disease department, she was outstanding. We asked her to talk to our football team. Our team asked her about 12 questions. They'd really thought out the questions to ask her. And she is such a wonderful person and knowledgeable person. So the education there, I'm not for sure, Paul, that we don't need to educate, our parents of our players as well on the vaccine. But it's been more of an education. I will say this, our coaching staff has all had the vaccination. So we're trying to lead by example as well. But I think it's still in education. And Dr. O'Neill helped us tremendously.
I think you told me you had it one of the last times that we talked, and not to take you through the season again, but for those out there who may be on the bubble, who pay a lot of attention to what someone in your position would say, once you get through it, and there are some minor side effects, but what does it do to your peace of mind?
Everything, Paul. I mean, it's the number one thing I was concerned about is having COVID and giving it to somebody else. That's not a gift you want to give, and you really don't know if you have it or not by the way you feel. And certainly every one of our kids that have tested positive, they'll go, well, I had no symptoms. And that, to me, that's the scariest part of it. So the relief of myself, my wife, Jamie, not being able to give the virus to somebody is, my wife's went home to see her mother in Pittsburgh, Kansas. And before, she couldn't do that because you really just don't know if you have it or not. So the relief of not being able to give the virus to somebody else is huge to me.
You were excited about becoming a head coach a year and change ago, and now I don't think the template prepared all of us for the kind of conversations we're having. But, Coach, we always enjoy it. I know the spring game coming up in a few weeks. From here until the end of spring, which is 3 weeks away, what do you hope to accomplish other than the aforementioned quarterback situation and the defensive situation?
Paul, we've got to make sure that we can punt and kick under pressure. We like our linebacker group. We've got some battles going on in the secondary. We like our wideouts. We have some battles going on there. And, obviously everybody wants to stay healthy. If we can get through healthy-wise, But we have really used these 15 days or we're going to extend through the 15 days because we didn't have the chance last year. And we are going to move some people in different positions to see if it makes our team better. Those things we weren't really able to do last year because we couldn't practice. We need to come out of spring knowing this is our guy at this spot, and we have 8 more opportunities to find that out.
Always great to have you here, Coach. Thank you. Stay well. The best to everyone, and we will hope to see you one of these days very soon as well. Come back soon.
You too, my friend. Thank you very much.
You got it. Always enjoyable. What a great man and a coach who had just such a fantastic year in terms of moving that program forward. I know the record may not indicate it to some of you, but to those who experienced Arkansas Razorback football last year, it came a very long way.
Ready for some college football on the SEC Network. We're in Fayetteville, Arkansas for the 2021 Arkansas Spring Game. It is the first spring game of the Sam Pittman era.
For 172 yards and matched KJ Jefferson with three touchdown runs.
So Jefferson's first throw of the ball game, that one is completed to their do-everything wide receiver, Traylon Burks. And Coach Odom on the defense said they got to get the ball in his hands on offense.
Yeah, when you get pressure, and that's what Coach Odom has really worked on. They want to play a lot of man-to-man this spring and get better on that aspect, and they feel like they have. But pressure situations for KJ Jefferson, he passes the test on that down.
Jefferson looking deep to the end zone. Touchdown. Mike Woods with the reception.
It looks like a 9 route, and right on time. They leave him open, kind of a slant and go, and just puts it perfectly into the hands of. Yeah, I talked about protecting players, and usually you have your ones going against twos, but here they wanted to see best on best.
Jefferson showing you what he can do with his legs. Did he stay in bounds? Around the 12-yard line. So it'll be 1st and 10 for the white team. Handoff is to Smith. And whoa. On 2nd down, Jefferson keeps, throws, finds a receiver in Woods. He'll be tackled inside the 5. Snap is good, kick is up and good. Hornsby's adjusting the play at the line of scrimmage. Fakes the handoff, he's gonna throw, completes the pass at the 40-yard line to Jaquaylin Crawford.
Good size at 6'2", 190 pounds.
Dominique Johnson takes that handoff, spins out of the pack. He's got a little daylight, and then it'll be tackled out of bounds. You talked about the depth at running back, a 22-yard gain, and here's another guy putting his hand up looking for some playing time.
Yeah, I asked Kendall Briles. I said, you got all these little guys. Who's the physical guy when you got to go get a yard? And he pointed right to Dominic Johnson.
And this is what they love out of Hornsby. He has the wheels. He can just take off. So the ball will be spotted at the 23-yard line for the Red Squad. Hornsby looks back, and he will be sacked in the backfield by Eric Thomas. Kick is up and good. So the red team is on the board, 10-3 here in the first quarter. Interceptions that basically tied the SEC in interceptions with 13 last season, but they really wanted to beef up the guys up front.
Well, you have to, because it's the SEC, and they live in the SEC West. So you've got to be able to hold a point of attack and then allow linebackers like Grant Morgan and Bumper Poole, who are tackling machines, to just make plays throughout ball games. And we've mentioned Catalon on the back end. Like if this is a regular season, I'm going up top. We got a turnover in plus yardage territory.
That was our first look at running back Josh Oglesby. Spread to the outside for no gain. Jefferson looking up top. End zone. Got a man wide open. Touchdown.
We got a turnover plus yardage territory. A nice double move by Trey Knox. Let's take a look at it, John. We get the double move there. He comes back. That leaves the middle of the field wide open because the safety sees the eyes and shoulders of KJ Jefferson look left.
This is the worst starting field position for the red team offense. They will hand the ball off on the first play. Big collision. Crawford, the man in motion, going behind Hornsby. Scrambles out of the pocket, fake it, and just take off and get out of bounds.
Now it just needs to transfer itself into being a little more accurate with the football, as well as being able to move the team.
10th play of the drive for the red team coming up. Hornsby, he's got plenty of time. Throws over the middle, caught. It's about a 24-yard field goal attempt. Kick is up. Good. So Phillips, the only points on the board for the red team.
Here in the spring game, got to see what the offensive line can do.
Sanders gets the handoff. The freshman trying to get there, and he will be stopped. A big defensive stop on 4th down. That was Jalen Catalon getting in there first.
Yeah, guys, like you mentioned, you know, these two go way back, and Barry Odom used to kind of joke about always trying to hire Sam Pittman, but he just never could afford him. So now the two are working together on staff here at Arkansas, and they have a great relationship. Typically, if you're driving around campus, you'll see the two of them
To make a stop. Now you're across the 50, so certainly you're going to roll the dice on 4th down.
Hornsby will hand the ball off up the middle. Bowling ball just bouncing off of defenders. And it looked like TJ Hammonds does pick up the first down.
The ball down. They are right back at the line of scrimmage.
Hornsby comes up throwing. Nice spin move. John David White caught the ball about 2 yards short of the marker.
This vantage point.
How would you grade that throw by Hornsby?
All you want to do is give your receiver a chance.
18-yard line. It'll be 4th and inches. Handoff. Back to Hammonds. Hits the outside. Rush to the end zone. Is he in? Touchdown. TJ Hammonds, an 18-yard touchdown run on 4th and 1. Gets the red team back in the ball game.
Yeah, really like this young man on film, and he's really starting to show me exactly why. I tell you, that running back room is just simply loaded with players.
Jefferson's got time. He's looking to go deep. One-on-one jump ball, and it is caught. Trey Knox just goes up and gets it. What a catch.
Mike Woods has made a play. Burks has made a play. Now it's time for Trey Knox to climb the ladder and come down with a KJ Jefferson football.
Cameron Little with a 37-yard field goal attempt, and it is good.
You know, the Razorbacks didn't really have that many issues during the actual season last year in terms of COVID. They didn't have to cancel any games, although I'm sure there's probably one that they wish they could take back, which was
3rd and 6 for Hornsby. Stays in the pocket, gets a good pass off to John David White. Fakes the handoff. In the pocket, now he's flushed out, throws on the run, man wide open, nice. Connects once again with White, a 24-yard touchdown, and 1 point away from tying this baby up.
Like the play there by Hornsby, sat in the pocket until he felt pressure where he was forced to move outside, and so dangerous is this redshirt freshman. Nope.
With the first down, they'll adjust the chains. Clock is moving again. 10 seconds to play in this first half. Hornsby will be touched and sacked. So a loss of 5 on the first play here in this 3rd quarter. Hornsby rolls out and connects. So you didn't miss any action, folks. There was no kickoff to start this second half. They just decided to give the ball to the red squad. That's TJ Hammonds now taking off. Hand off to Johnson. He is going to be pushed back. And the white team defense comes up big. And they really like what he brings to the table. First play rolls out of the pocket. No, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver. That was Chris Harris who had it momentarily.
John Stevens-Jones had a pretty good, successful high school career, led his team to the state playoffs.
So Jones, this is his first drive of the ball game, and he has moved the ball. Hand off to Reed Turner, end zone, touchdown. 15-yard touchdown run for Reed Turner. Had offers to go to some other schools, but due to his relationship with Kendall Briles, said, I really want to play for you. But Briles said, look, we don't have a scholarship for you. You're going to have to earn everything you get. And that's how he's able to pay a little less in tuition. New quarterback in for the Red Squad will be Lucas Coley. That's a completion of 14 yards. When you were at Houston, when did you notice that you had won the team over?
We were a couple of weeks into fall camp, and I'll tell you what, it was actually after the first game of the season. He's had some nice runs in this spring game so far.
So after a gain of 12, they're going to go to the air, and that's Darren Turner with the reception. 12 minutes, he's going to put 10 minutes on this fourth quarter clock, so just shorten the game a little bit. It's a spring game. Do what you want, right?
They're going to have the old running clock, too.
That's right. Coley throws it to his offensive lineman. That's Jalen St. John. Let the big man get to work.
Love it. Oh, I love it. And he's just refusing to go down. That is excellent work. They formation this thing, and he's just going to kick out. Nice job by Coley to get it to him. And he is just giving
After the play,
the defender the business.
So Colin Sutherland is on to attempt the field goal from 26 yards out. Excuse me, that's Matthew Phillips. And Phillips is up and good.
Kendall Briles is just can Cade Renfro execute a 2-minute drill?
Renfro slings it and completes it to Ketron Jackson, the freshman.
You don't think about it, you just rip them or put touch on them. But when a guy's just that wide open, you don't get a lot of those.
Renfro decides to take off, and he'll be touched down inside the 20.
Sam Pittman's got to figure out a way to do better than he did in his first year, which was really very good. Didn't win as many games as it seemed, but Pittman didn't think things went all that badly. Speaking of Sam Pittman, we are going to see him a little bit later on, so I can't wait to talk to him. So this is some of the notables. You got big stars all over the place. Young, KJ Jefferson from Arkansas, he looked great. Kirkland at LSU. Jamar Chase? I can do that. So, a lot to talk about today, to say the least. And I just want to, I don't want to ruin anyone's party. You can take whatever you want out of spring games. You know, sometimes you walk away going, didn't like what I saw. Or you can build it up. It's worth remembering at Alabama. And it is so great to welcome to our program Sam Pittman. And Coach, I know spring is over, at least unofficially. It never really ends. How are you doing, and how do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. I thought we had a really good spring game. Paul, to be honest with you, there's not a practice I go, man, we didn't practice hard. We didn't play well. Saturday, I thought our quarterbacks, both of them, Hornsby and Jefferson, played really well. And to be honest with you, that's really what we were going out there to look. We felt like we could run the ball a little bit better than we had last year, but I was concerned about the accuracy of the quarterbacks. And and they really did a nice job on Saturday.
And I mean, these are questions that you'll be asked from now until you run out on the field for the first game. But how do you ultimately determine who gets the start in the opener?
Well, I think right now KJ Jefferson's ahead of Malik. He's going to have to catch him. But I do believe that he has the ability to do that. So both of them they're close friends. They're fierce competitors. But we'll just continue to monitor them as much as, legally we can. And then, of course, we have those 25 practices in fall camp to determine who ultimately would be the guy.
I know these are, I don't want to go back with questions, but I can't tell you how many times I remember talking to you last year without spring. It was so different. And, you still had, by at least most people's accounts, a really good season. Record-wise, it may not have been ideal in your book, but a lot of fans are fired up. How different does it feel as you turn the page and you now know where you are at least?
A lot. You really don't know everything about your job, Paul, until you've hit that 1 year mark. In other words, you've gone through spring. And I know I've been here about a year and 3 or 4 months, but we didn't have spring last year, as you just stated. And so I was kind of nervous about being a first-time head coach and running through the spring practice because we hadn't done it before. But, man, I couldn't be much prouder of our team than what we are. And the spring game went well. We came out injury-free. So I'm really excited where our program is. And I know we've got a lot of work to do, but we've got kids willing to do that as well.
And what happens now? I know there's so many things that are still in motion with on the recruiting front, and things are starting to settle down and what you can start to do normally. But what happened? I mean, I know you're working, and it's not like you took a cruise. But what's your next priority?
Well, we've got a few scholarships, Paul, honestly, that we could push forward. So we're certainly looking in the transfer portal at a position or maybe 2 positions there, and see if we can't help our football team out that way. We're in discretionary period right now, so hopefully our kids will get in there and lift 3 times a week, but that's totally up to them over the next 2. Then we go to finals, and then there's about a 3-week period there where the kids are home. And we just don't. I talked to them. We just don't want to lose where we're at. Even we'd love to gain, but if we don't lose where we are right now, I think when we get them back here, I believe it is May 23rd, with the rest of the incoming freshmen, I think we'll have a good football team, and if we'll come in shape, we could have a special team.
Let me piggyback off that, because I wouldn't be doing a good job as a reporter if I didn't ask you to elaborate on that special team. That's the kind of line that gets fans excited, Coach.
Well, I'm not saying, Paul, I'm saying a special team for Arkansas. And what I mean by that is one that will go out there and make the fans proud, play hard, and be in every game. I mean, I think win or lose, I'm not sitting here saying we're going to go 12-0, obviously. But I am saying that Arkansas should be in every football game. And it should be a competitive football game. And then at the end of the game, figure out who has the most points. That's what I mean by a special team, because I think we should be able to compete in each game that we play in.
And I think, Coach, you understand better than all of us that's really what Arkansas fans want. This is a program that you were hired because it was so far down. And, if you're measuring progress, and, it seems, I'm going to quit saying this, but it just seemed like you won so many more games than 3, and not to relitigate the ending of a few, but do you feel like you're on a good track right now?
I do. Now, I'm the most positive guy, I hope, that's been on this program. I am. I believe in Arkansas. I believe in the players. But I'm really excited of where we are. Paul, we have 20 starters coming back. They all work extremely hard. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. And more than anything, they believe they can win. And that's that's probably the biggest thing that we've done since we've been here is our players trust us, we trust them, and they believe they can go out and win football games.
And schedules are schedules, but you have you're always going to have a tough schedule in the SEC, but you have a fairly challenging schedule out of conference. Is that what you want?
Well, we'll play whoever's on there, obviously, but you would like to schedule, you'd like to schedule, some teams that aren't, ranked in the top 15 in the country if you could, but, but I'll say this, I think we're going to be national champs in the hardest schedule 2 years in a row now. So I think we're number one this year in the hardest schedule, and I know we were last year. So we've won a national championship twice in that category.
Yeah, let me hold the schedule on the screen for a second for those of you watching at home. Rice in Texas, A&M, of course, is always on the schedule, and then only at Georgia, at LSU, and at Alabama. That's enough to keep coaches up late at night, and I'm not talking about everybody else that you normally play, like Ole Miss and Auburn and Missouri and the usual suspects. Coach, I know that you took the job because it was an opportunity, but the idea that you have to play, I guess you could have had a non-conference game against Clemson. That may have been the only thing that would have made this tougher, but it's hard to imagine it being much tougher.
Well, it is. Paul, let's be honest. I don't know that I was the first guy. Some people might be afraid of the schedule and they didn't want to come here and all that. I love Arkansas. So, listen, if we're going to win half our games, we've got to win half. We got to win 3 or 4 in the SEC. So, I mean, it is what it is. And I've said it before, we're in the SEC West, exactly where Arkansas belongs. And whoever those names are, we're not playing logos. We're playing 11 guys on 11 guys. And actually, I really love our logo, by the way. But we're playing 11-11, and we'll go out there and see if we can outscore them.
Coach, we're talking to Coach Sam Pittman. Coach, just, so many times during the season, we talk to you about the grind, and, it ended. There's no break. I mean, you got to turn it right around in recruiting and then start to. Is there a point where and I know there's always a chance to take a little bit of time, but do you feel like you can afford to, or it's not so much can you afford to take time? Do you feel like you must take some time as for you and your staff to get away from all this?
I think you want to, Paul, and. You want to do all those things. Recruiting goes all the time. The thing I learned last year was as soon as our bowl game was canceled because of COVID, the phones start ringing about your position coaches, So you're thinking, well, I'm going to go down here to Lake, get a couple of days just to kind of, unwind. That doesn't happen. Then as soon as spring ball is over with, then you get portal, what's going on in the portal, who's going to transfer, who's transferring in, all those type things. So as much as you'd like to, maybe an hour or 10 hours or something off, it's just not going to happen. That comes with the territory. So we try to embrace it. And
you don't need me to tell you because you live there, but I as a kid, I used to spend a lot of time in Arkansas on those lakes, and it would be pretty tough to find a prettier place to spend a spring weekend than any one of those lakes in Arkansas. When you finally do get away, what do you like to do when I mean, you can't ever turn the phone off, I don't think, but at least you can act like it's not there for a couple of minutes.
That's where I go, Paul. Jamie and I bought a lake home down in Hot Springs on Lake Hamilton, and that's where we go. It's kind of our getaway. There's something soothing about water, and I like to fish, and I just like to go around in my pontoon boat and have a good time. So that's what we do, and it's very, very relaxing. Obviously, you have the phone there, and last year I was trying to do that, and Mr. Hunter Yurachek called me and said, "Hey, we got some new opponents," and it was Georgia and Florida. That kind of ruined that day. But other than that, it's been a lot of fun going down Hamilton.
Yeah, I'm sure when you got back to the cabin, that was everybody wanted to know why you had such a long face. It was pretty self-evident. Well, Coach, we won't keep you, but it's always a pleasure. We love having you on. The audience, I think they had 5 questions for me before you came on. Your fans are really excited, and we hope to see you again very soon.
We are too, Paul. Appreciate it. The Hog's strong, and it is strong in this area. We appreciate you.
We look forward to seeing you soon. Coach Sam Pittman, feeling good, and as the spring has come to an end.
It's my privilege to introduce the head football coach for the University of Arkansas Razorback, Sam Pittman.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so honored to be here and be the head football coach at University of Arkansas. I want to thank Greg Sankey for all he did. I know a lot of coaches have, and every one of us, I'll guarantee, it wasn't because somebody started it. It's because they felt it and they meant it. I have colleagues that are head football coaches in other conferences, and in our weekly meetings, Commissioner Sankey, and sometimes bi-weekly meetings, we were so informed of everything that was going on in the realm of college football, and I felt like we were certainly always ahead on our knowledge of what we had, and I want to thank you for that. I also want to thank Hunter Yurachek, our athletic director. He's a rock star. I think you ask any head coach at Arkansas, and they'll say the same thing about him. He's my boss, obviously. I consider him and his wife, Jennifer, our friends, and I'm very thankful, especially because he hired me. I brought Grant Morgan and Myron Cunningham with me today. If it's up to me, I'd have brought the whole damn team. We have an outstanding football team that works extremely hard, and they bought into what we're selling. And I'm so appreciative of all of them, including our coaching staff. Grant Morgan has his master's degree completed. He was a finalist for the Burlsworth Award. He also was first-team All-SEC player, and he'll be one of our 11 super seniors coming back. I'm excited for you guys to talk to him because he's really, really a great young man. Myron Cunningham is also a super senior that we have, our left tackle. Turned down several hundreds of thousands of dollars, in my opinion. We have a process, and looked like he was going to go high in the middle rounds of the NFL draft last year. He elected to come back. It tells you something about our coaching staff, not myself, about our assistant coaching staff. 11 super seniors, 12 what I'm going to call regular seniors coming back, which would be a total of 23. I'm proud of our coaching staff. I think a lot of those guys coming back, as I've said before, is because of our coaching staff. When I hired our coaches, it was about communication, about the most powerful thing coming from your body is your mouth. And we wanted people who teach. We wanted people who understood how to teach. We wanted people who understood how to talk to kids when they had times of need. If you communicate with somebody on a regular basis, it's not so hard to say something that might come off as something they don't want to hear. If you wait a while, it's very difficult to have that conversation. I learned a lot of things as a head coach and continuing to learn. One of them was as soon as your bowl game's over, or what was supposed to be our bowl game last year, people start coming after your coaches if they're any good. I'm very proud that we were able to keep our 3 coordinators and our strength coach. We were able to keep Barry Odom, who has been very valuable to me. Obviously, he was the head coach at Missouri in this league. I bounced things off of him frequently. He and I believe it or not, he and I walk quite a bit. Now, he looks like he does, and I look like I'm on his back, but I'm really walking. But we go out there and we walk and we talk and we discuss the team. It's a great 45 minutes so I can learn a little bit more about being a head coach. I love Kendall Browse. He's our offensive coordinator. I like his swagger. I like his confidence. I like his offense. There's so many decisions that you have to make as a quarterback, and you have to make them fast, and he's a great teacher of that, and I'm awful happy we were able to keep him. Scott Fountain came over with me from Georgia. He's actually my neighbor there, and by golly, he's my neighbor over there in Fayetteville now with us from Georgia. I tell you about him, he's loyal, he's a good recruiter, he's a hard worker. Our special teams will get better. I think last year, especially through the COVID and not knowing exactly who you have each and every week, and sometimes you lose a few players on Friday, Scott did an outstanding job. And then the last coach I want to talk about is Jamil Walker. Certainly / Ed Ellis, but those two guys have done a great job with us. You know, the weight room's for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason I know is for confidence. You're building strength, you're building weight, you're building, getting them in shape, but you're also building that confidence, and that's something I felt like the University of Arkansas football team needed. On our football schedule, we are the defending national champions of the hardest football schedule in college. I've looked towards next year, and I think we're going to three-peat in that area next year. However, we're the University of Arkansas in the Southwest Conference West, exactly where we belong, and we're excited about those challenges. We're going to renew some old Southwest Conference rivalries the first 2 weeks of the season in Donald W. Reynolds Stadium. In Rice is very, very physical. Beat Marshall. I believe they were the first team to beat Marshall when Marshall was 7-0, ranked in the top 20 in the country. Very well coached team. We're excited to renew that rivalry in our stadium. The second week we play the University of Texas, and I'm not for sure if anybody's called a much better game than Coach Sarkisian did in the national championship game when he was offensive coordinator at Alabama. So we have high respect for both of those teams. Obviously, the older folks in the state of Arkansas are revved up about the Texas game. I read something where at one point during that rivalry, if you had Arkansas tags and you crossed into the Texas border on a away game, that you were not going to be sold any gas until you got back into Arkansas. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if it is true, now that's a rivalry. Crossover game this year is with Georgia. I was going to ask Commissioner Sankey if Georgia's moved over to the SEC West because we played them 2 years in a row, but with Georgia, we're excited to go back there. Jamie and I have such outstanding friends there, certainly on the coaching staff. And the reason I mentioned Georgia's, one, it's our crossover game, but the other is because of the indebtedness that I feel towards Kirby Smart. You know, Kirby was very good to me. I wouldn't be the head coach at University of Arkansas without him. And we're looking forward to going back there and seeing our friends and certainly trying to compete against one of the best football teams in America. I'm proud of our state. I'm proud of our university, and especially our players. For y'all who don't know much about Arkansas, it's a proud damn state. It's a beautiful state, hard-working, loyal, honest people. Our university is graduating their students. 100% of our football team that were seniors that exhausted their eligibility graduated. 100% of all student athletes in every sport last year who exhausted their senior eligibility graduated from the University of Arkansas. 8 of our, what I'm going to call regular seniors, have already graduated before the season begins. We have the best city in the SEC, voted by U.S. News and World Report for the 6th year in a row. 19 returning starters, 9 on offense. On offense, we will return the entire offensive line, tight ends, running back position. Majority of our wideouts, and certainly we lost our quarterback, Felipe Franks, to free agency to the Atlanta Falcons. On defense, we have 10 returning starters. The one that is not returning is John Marshall, who was a 6th-round draft pick of the New York Jets. We have our entire secondary coming back, our entire linebacker group, and all but John Marshall coming back on the D-line. Along with, we did enhance our football team, we believe, with some transfer portal kids there. Our players are currently vaccinated at 89%. Our building is a little over 92% COVID vaccinated. Terry Prentice, we hired to build our flagship program, an NIL. We are the first athletic department in the nation to hire a senior level administrator to specifically oversee student athlete brand development. We feel he and his staff will be a great advantage for us. Lastly, I want to tell you we love this football team. They believe in being blue-collar, hard-working, tough, physical group of men. We'll be better. I don't know what that means in wins and losses, but excited to get started and get back into Don W. Reynolds Stadium full of fans calling the Hogs. I'll take your questions.
Thank you, Coach Pittman. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get Victoria, Lawrence, or Fuller to you. We'll start down here front, Coach, on the second row with Tom.
Hey, Sam. Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So you got all these super seniors and regular seniors. I think 23 was the number.
23.
Does that equate to a big jump? What has to happen to make a jump in this league?
I wish I knew that. We'd jump all over the place. Here's what I do know, that it'll be hard work. The weight room, the process of the program, the belief in the program. I mean, you can't beat anybody if you don't start out thinking you're going or believing you're going to. I think that has changed over the last year. But I think it's just building on what we have done and getting better and getting a few additions to help our football team. But we've got enough players on our team to have a good football team as long as we buy in and we work hard and we execute.
Coach, we'll go to the center section along the right aisle. Trey.
Coach, Trey Biddy, hogsports.com, 24/7 Sports. You mentioned that you have so many starters returning, but you also had mentioned that you expect some battles and some competition with me earlier, particularly at offensive line at the guard spots, Ty Clary, Bo Limmer, Luke Jones, Brady Latham. How do you see those battles shaping up, and where else could we see some real competition with returning starters?
I think, Trey, there's going to be battle all the way up to first game at the guard position. Bo right now is currently behind Ty Clary, and on the other side, Brady Latham is behind Luke Jones. That's an on-paper depth chart. I mean, to me, they're both 1A, whatever it may be. But that competition will make you better, obviously. But I'm excited about that battle. I think we've got to find out who number 2 is at running back. I think that's a big spot there. KJ Jefferson is our quarterback. Now, does he have competition? You dang right he's got competition. But he has proven that he can play well in the Southeastern Conference in a game. He started one game, but he played well during that game. So, in the secondary, you have some battles at safety. Certainly some good battles there, and then there's battles everywhere on the D line. I think we're pretty much figured out the linebacker spot. I think we'll play at least 3 of those guys on a regular with Henry, Bumper Pool, and of course Grant Morgan. So. We've got battles all over the place in punter, kickoff man, and field goal kicker. But a lot of times you have battles, you might not be very good at that position. I think we're good there. I just think we've got to figure out who the starter is.
Coach, we're going to go right in front of us in the center section.
Hello, Coach. How you doing? Gerard Hamilton, Tuscaloosa News. You play on the road at Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU, and then you host Texas A&M. Can you kind of tell us about how or tell us the importance of this year's off season with that brutal schedule coming up this year.
Well, it's good to see you too, buddy. Well, you just got to take them 1 week at a time. We have 8 in a row, 8 games in a row. Very conscious about that. Then we have a bye, and then, of course, we finish with the Final Four. But for us to have a successful season, we're going to have to stay healthy. Our depth is much better than it was a year ago, but it's certainly not where we want it to be. But we've got to be very conscious of that 8-game stretch. And, of course, you're right. We have 3 games right there in a row where we're on the road. And certainly we will tweak possibly what we do at practice depending on who we have available and certainly the vibe, the feel of our football team physically.
Coach, we're going to stay in the center section just a row back.
Sam, Wilson Moore, Columbia, Missourian. You talked about Barry Odom earlier, but I was just wondering, what did he bring to the defense? What did he provide his first year as coordinator?
There's a lot of confidence. Our players believe in him. Whatever comes out of his mouth, that's what he's going to do, and that's what he's planning on doing as well. We weren't as multiple on defense last year, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't have enough defensive linemen, to be honest with you, to put on the field at one time. We feel like we've solved that problem where we can go back. Barry's an 0-4-3 guy, along with a little bit of odd front and things of that nature, a little bit of under front. We weren't able to do much of that, and therefore we didn't get anybody in second and long. I think the biggest thing that we're trying to emphasize this year is that we can put people in 2nd and 8, 2nd and 12, 2nd and whatever it may be instead of 2nd and 4 and 5. And we didn't do a very good job of that last year. And part of it was schematics. Part of it was we didn't take as many chances on first down. I think we'll do more than that. But to answer your question specifically about Barry, our kids believe in him, and so do I.
Which will go in the center section alongside the right aisle.
Conor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Sam, you spent part of your life in the Big 12 region of the country. I'm curious what your reaction was to hearing the report yesterday about Texas and Oklahoma reportedly reaching out to the SEC about joining the league.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I really haven't thought about that much. I'm so nervous about the schedule we have coming up and all that. I haven't paid much attention about it. But I will say this. I know we're going to play Texas this year. We play them September 11th, and we're very excited for that. And I apologize. I really haven't thought about it much.
Okay, we'll go back over here on our left-hand side alongside the aisle.
Coach, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. First, I wanted to ask you about Treylon Burks and how you've seen him grow as a player. He's obviously, I think, one of the most dangerous offensive players in the SEC. And then a second part, I know you're one of the best recruiters in the country. How do you approach the transfer portal, and do you save scholarships on the back end of a class maybe to fill needs for your team each year? Man, oh man, those are 2 really good questions. Treylon Burks is what he needed to do to become a standout, an unbelievable player is get in better shape. And we talked to him about that. Just going out there hunting them hogs wasn't really getting him in the greatest shape in the world. So he had to do more than just that. He has done that. He's lost some weight. He looks good. He's more confident, things of that nature. He's got 5X hands. I mean, he's just a tremendous person, a South Arkansas, Warren, Arkansas kid. The second part of your question was?
Transfer portal?
Transfer, thank you. I made 18 on my ACT. So. And I'm not bragging, but I kind of am. But the transfer portal, I think the transfer portal just kind of happens. In other words, I don't have a set. We're low on scholarships right now. And so at this point, we're going to get this guy, or we're just not going to take anybody else and hold them for the transfer portal. You know what I mean? I know the transfer portal is going to be there. It's a shame. There's a lot of kids in the transfer portal who don't have a scholarship. It's a shame. And part of it, once you go to the transfer portal at the University of Arkansas, you sure ain't transferring back in, I'm pretty sure if I asked Jamie if I go transfer for a week and figure it out, and then would she let me come back, the probably answer would be no. And so that's how we feel about it, our place too. And unfortunately, the kids are getting, not doing their homework because they're not unable to. But to answer your question, we probably will hold 2 or 3 a year, probably not many more than that.
Coach, we'll go over to the right side on the near aisle, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Coach, Anthony Dasher, UJSports.com. I know you've spoken often about your fondness for your time at Georgia. I just, and I know you may have answered this question before, but just what you, I guess, learned the most working for Coach Marks' program, and what parts have you tried to apply to what you're doing in Arkansas?
A lot of it's about the system, certainly the practice plans, the practice schedule, whom I'm not speaking for Coach Smart, whom I'm sure he took a lot of that from when he left Alabama with Nick Saban. And I love the practice schedule like that. The relentless pursuit of athletes is what Kirby Smart does. It's 4th and a half inch every day at the University of Georgia, and therefore that's why he's done such a nice job of coaching and such a nice job of recruiting. But I learned the importance of, we're in the SEC, it's different. It just means more. And if it's going to mean more, you better get players. And he taught me that as well. I've always had a knack for recruiting, but it certainly, what's the word, wrenched up working there at the University of Georgia. And by the way, the folks there in the state of Georgia were outstanding to Jamie and I.
Coach, we'll go back down here front to Tom.
Yeah, hey, Tom Murphy again, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. You've got a lot of defensive backs and had some six DB looks in spring. Is that a product of what your roster looks like right now, or the trends in college football that dictate that?
Well, I think it depends on who you're playing, obviously, and that's, you have to be ready for that. If you look at it, we're sitting with 3 D linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs. Basically might be a base depth chart for us. Certainly that's not where we want to stay. We want to be able to play a four down line. Obviously, we feel like we're going to be able to do that. But to answer your question, yes, probably it was what we had when we walked in, and that's where our better players were. So Barry certainly did studies. He knew how to run a 3-man front, but he did studies through other colleges to see how they're running that program, because the bottom line is all of us want to get the best players we have on the team on the field at the same time.
Okay, we'll go back over here on the left, David.
Hey, Coach, David Basil with 103.7 The Buzz. There's an old saying, I believe it, that a team takes on the personality of its head coach. I always felt that way when I played. If that's true, what kind of personality is this Razorback team going to have this year?
Well, I hope they're very confident, talk with their pads. There's no reason to say a lot of things that can't let my butt override my mouth. If you want to get something done, you got to go physically do it. You got to go take it. The only way you can win, the only way you have a chance to win is play hard. That's the only way you have a chance. Then you have to be knowledgeable. You have to be unafraid. You have to be all those things. But I guess the most thing is that I believe I'm at the University of Arkansas, and is the best university in the country, and that's what I want them to believe. And if they do that, then they're going to go out there and play hard.
Coach, we'll go right down here in the center to Scott.
Hey, Sam. Scott Rabelais from the Baton Rouge Advocate. I walk every day. I'm not too svelte yet either, but, I'm glad you're out there doing it. I see you've been coaching for well over 30 years. The last year and a half, what's it been like to try to stay relevant as a coach and current with all the change? Have you ever seen more change in a short period of time as a coach? And how do you try to stay, on top of your game, as it were?
Well, that's difficult, because I'm a big guy. I am who I am, but you have to stay relevant, and it's difficult. I've got an Instagram account, but I don't know how to get on it, Twitter. I'm pretty good at Twitter. I don't tweet much, but I'm pretty good at reading, and so our assistant coaches, our young guys, they kind of teach me some of that stuff, a little bit more. And but to stay relevant, it's really just trying to find out from the kids what's important, and then if it's important to them, then it's damn sure important to me, and then that's when I learn the best.
Coach, we're going to go in the center section, about midway back.
Corey Diaz with the Greenville News in South Carolina. Sam, going back to your time under Kirby at Georgia, Shane Beamer also spent some time with you there as well. How confident are you in his ability to lead the South Carolina football team back to a position of prominence in the SEC East Division? And then two, have you spoken with him at all, and have you lent him any advice as he enters his first year as the head coach?
Well, let's answer the first one. He's going to do a great job at South Carolina. He's prepared. He was ready for that job. He's going to do a great job. He's going to do a fine job over there. We've spoken several different times. He doesn't really need my advice. We kicked a few things back and forth between the two of us, but he's going to do a good job. South Carolina's going to be happy they hired him.
Coach, we'll stay in the same section, just a few rows up.
Hi, Sam. Eric Blum, Columbia Daily Tribune. We talked to Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz earlier today, and when he was asked about the Texas-Oklahoma news, he preferred to say he preferred the rivalry with you guys and focusing on the one he currently has. How do you evaluate the state of the Missouri versus Arkansas rivalry, and what does it mean to have that game to your program every year?
I think it's a very good rivalry. Obviously we haven't been on the winning side of that in the last 5 years. I think the last time we beat Missouri was my last year at Arkansas as the offensive line coach. But certainly when Barry was the head coach over there, they beat Arkansas 4 times in a row. And so it's probably might be a little bit more of a rival for the people that are getting their butt kicked. I don't know. You'd have to ask Eli, but we've been getting ours done, and I love the fact that Missouri's close to us. Eli and I are good friends, but at the same time, we're very competitive as well. And I'm glad we look at it at Arkansas as Missouri as our number one rival.
We have time for 2 more. We'll start here in the front on the right-hand aisle. Trey.
Trey Biddy, Hog Sports. Coach, you mentioned some battles in the secondary, and we all know about Jalen Catalon and Monteric Brown, probably one of the more underrated players in the conference. I was curious if you could go into some detail on, where some of that competition is, who's involved, and maybe a young guy or a dark horse or something that might be emerging.
Brooks and Slusher, they're in there. And Slusher's kind of battling with some other areas, as well. Chavis is definitely in a battle with Joe, and Simeon Blair has got a battle as well going on with him. The 2 corners, Clark and Day, they certainly are in a battle, and of course Kyrie and Mo Brown. So I think if you go 1 and 2 deep, that's probably the most talented position that we have is the secondary. They're also very, very aggressive. In other words, they're great leaders. You don't have to worry about that group and their work ethic. Trent Gordon would also be a guy that certainly battling Blair and or Fouché and or Brooks. He's another guy that came in. So a lot of battles right there between those guys.
All right, Coach, we'll take one final question over on our left-hand side.
Hey, Coach. Kate Thomas, WAFB TV in Baton Rouge. I know that you're one of the few head coaches in college football that has an offensive line background. Do you consider yourself the torchbearer for your offensive line brethren? And what can you do to help other offensive line coaches become head coaches?
What you don't realize, thank you for the question. What you don't realize is, if you're an offensive line coach, you talk to 20 people every day. It's not like you have 5 guys in your room or this, that, and that. So you are coordinating a team of basically half the offense, You have to understand secondary play because that helps you understand blitzes. You have to understand caps. You have to understand different fronts, what they mean. So you're very knowledgeable. All these offensive line coaches are. I certainly don't want to be the torchbearer. I don't want that kind of pressure on me. But I would like to see if they're qualified and they're ready to go. I think a big part of me being being the head coach at Arkansas was because I was there at Arkansas before, and I think Mr. Yurchek understood the passion I had. I had to be qualified, but I think a big part of mine was that passion I had for the University of Arkansas too. So I think it kind of worked in hand that way. But I certainly want to do a good job for the state of Arkansas and for the university, and certainly for offensive line coaches, so they might have this wonderful opportunity in the future.
Coach Pittman, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We're talking about Sam Pittman. We've had so many great conversations with you, and it's such a pleasure to see you in person. I'm afraid to ask how the day's gone because you're about like 7 hours into interviews.
That's right. You start a year later, you've done everything. Well, I've been a year and a half, but we hadn't done SEC Media Days, so this is new for me. I'm excited. Next year I'll know how to go about it a little bit better, but I started at 7 and now we're here this afternoon, and it's been basically all interviews or flying to get here. So been very exciting, though. It's been great.
And that's the one thing I've tried to observe you from a distance, from the first time we had you on to now. And I mean, through the lens, you just come off as a guy that is loving this job and has just got your arms around it.
I do. I mean, it's been the greatest 18 months of my life. It really has. Being the head coach of Arkansas, I never dreamt that would happen. And now that it has happened, I want to make sure that we do the right things and we win enough games where it can happen as long as Jamie and I want it to. But I at times, Paul, in all honesty, I wake up and go, dang, I'm the head coach at Arkansas, and it's a thrill. I mean, it really is, and we made a little headway last year. I think we'll have a little bit better football team this year.
I mean, you had a lot of times people forget how you got here, but I mean, you had a reputation as one of the preeminent, if not the best, line coach. I mean, your recruiting prowess was well known. You worked for Kirby Smart and helped really build that program. But did you wonder if you would ever get that shot at a really big job?
I think I had started forgetting about it. In other words, obviously a long time ago, the only guys that made money in the business was the head coaches, assistant coaches. I remember when I was coaching at Oklahoma, I made $60,000 as an offensive line coach. Now it's in 1997, but the head coach made $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. So I think that part of that was the goal of financially securing for your family. Well, then I got to Georgia or got to wherever, Tennessee or Arkansas, where it may be, and started getting paid. Georgia, my hands were full with coaching the offensive line. I mean, they were full. There were 5 guys in there recruiting that position all the same. So I felt like I'd have a quality career if I didn't get a head coaching job, and then it just happened.
And I think that's part of why so many people all fan bases like coach. I mean, it doesn't matter who the coach is. Yeah, he's our guy. But your fans, and we hear from so many of them. I mean, it just seems like they really have. They love you. They bought in, and I know that's a burden for you in a way. Because you want to reciprocate.
Yeah. Well, the day that I get tired of signing autographs or speaking to people, then I've gotten too full of myself, and that's not going to happen. But you're right. For whatever reason, Paul, the state of Arkansas has really embraced me as I have them. But I've always loved Arkansas. Since I was 17, I went to camp over there, tried to get Lou Holtz to give me a scholarship. He wouldn't. He was smart. He was a smart man. He was smart on that as well. And or he is, excuse me. And so but I've loved the Arkansas Razorbacks ever since I was six years old, and I think it shows that I think Arkansas, and I know you have to do your job and you have to say what you need to say and all those things, but I truly in my heart believe that Arkansas should be a premier football program in the country, and I believe that. You may as well, you may not, I don't know what it is, but I believe that, and I think that resonates with the fans of Arkansas, and because they certainly believe it.
Well, I mean, this interview is about you, but I'll answer your question. Yes, I know it's possible. I grew up in a city on the Arkansas border, and I'm old enough to remember the greatest and most important game in Arkansas history as a kid, and I watched it. I watched every set, and I was an Arkansas fan. And I mean, here's Arkansas in a 1-versus-2 game. Yeah. Then I had the opportunity to come back years later and spoke in Little Rock when they were honoring the team. And I mean, there's nothing quite like the Razorbacks. There's nothing else, folks. I mean, you don't have to deal with the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Hawks and 8,000 other soccer teams. I mean, it's the Arkansas Razorbacks.
It's the Hogs. That's it. You know, that's what people ask me about NIL. How's that going? Well, who else is there to give it to? It's going good. You know, we got kids. We got a couple that have cars and things of that nature. We're doing great. We're the people they're going to give it to.
Well, I'll ask you about that now, since you brought it up, and a lot of coaches are concerned. We've talked to them today and yesterday about whatever they're making, and it's great that they're having opportunities. But as a line coach, as a former player, and now as a head coach at Arkansas, how do you deal with that in the locker room?
Well, we had a meeting, and I wanted to get the cart before the horse. I wanted to get out there in front of this thing, and I told them, I said, the only negative that can come from this is if you don't do your research and you go with somebody that is going to embarrass you. B, if it divides the football team. And I said, hell, we'd just gotten Wright's Barbecue for our team. I said, if it's up to me, I asked him, I said, if up to me, what will we do? And they said, Coach, you give everybody on team barbecue. I said, you're right. I said, we got a guy with PetSmart. If it's up to me, everybody to have dog food or freaking parrots. You know what I mean? But it's not. So if you want to, part of your deal, NIL, that's you. So I wanted everybody to know I have nothing to do with that. I wanted to be out of it because, division of the team is, well, Coach gave this guy this guy this, get that. No, I didn't. That guy went out and earned it and went out and did it. So am I nervous about it? Yes. I'm nervous about the money? Yes. There's going to have to be more education on. I mean, you can't. Coach Saban may have said something about something around $1 million. And the coach knows that. I mean, Coach is the greatest coach all the time, but he's going to educate those guys, and we're going to have to educate them.
Talking to Coach here, and Coach, yesterday the bomb went off about Texas, and everyone thought of you because you got Texas in the second week, and the jokes about is that a conference game? You've heard them all. But I can't help but think about my old friend Jack Crow, who really lost his job as the Arkansas head coach because they were a lame duck in the Southwest Conference. Yep. My, have things changed? Yeah. It hasn't happened yet. But how do you deal with that question in a state that cares a lot about Texas?
A lot about it. I said in my remarks today, the old theory was, or old wise tale was, that when Arkansas would go to Austin, that if you had an Arkansas tag, that you couldn't buy gas, and in the state of Texas that particular day, So obviously it's a huge rival. I don't know about what our fans think about it. I don't know if they want them. They hate them so much they don't want to play them. I don't understand all that. But I do know that we play them September 11th. It'll be a good gauge of where our program is at that point. Obviously, we have Rice the first game. And as far as coming into our conference, I really haven't thought about it enough to really publicly say something about it, Paul. But there are obviously two good football teams. They get us to 16. I mean, they keep they keep telling us to play Georgia every year. I mean, we played them. You talk about ruining some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was on my boat, and Hunter called me and said, hey, you're going to play Georgia in Florida. I go, oh, my Lord, from last year. And then we got Georgia again this year. But it'll be good to see Kirby.
Yeah. No. Let's talk about some things that you like. And you mentioned your boat, and you seem like a guy that just embraces your time away from football with your family. And I know there's not much time for that, but how do you shut it off? Because it's hard to do.
I like to go. We have a lake home in Hot Springs. I love to go down there. We went down there a week, and we went to Nassau for a week and went out in the Exumas and all that stuff. I love water. I love to fish. And so that's a lot of what Jamie and I do. You know, we've never had any children, so it's just us. You know, August 2 is 35 years of marriage, you know, and so we pretty much enjoy each other's company and water and things. And then at home, be a lot of just going out around the pool and listening to music. I'm a big music lover, and
you've opened the door for the curious music lover to find out what you like to listen to.
Well, you know, this summer's been a bunch of yacht rock, a bunch of Doobie Brothers, you know.
Now you're talking about my era.
I'll say this: there's Justin Bieber's got a song out now called "Peaches" or something. It's a good song now. And then Maroon 5's got one, beautiful something. But anyway, I've got a nice little song track, but I love the Doobie Brothers, have for a long time, and 38 Special and Journey and those people, they're all on my yacht rock.
Well, I'm not going to just yank my music list out and try to compare notes, but that's a pretty good era. Doobie's 38 Special.
It's a great era of live music. You know, going to concerts and those things, and some of them are kind of coming back a little bit, but I love concerts. We went and saw Brad Paisley up in Joplin, Missouri this summer, and he was really good too as well.
And because I've gotten to know a few of them, but you got a few Razorback fans in the music industry as well.
Oh yeah,
I know you've heard from them all.
Yeah, Justin Moore is certainly one of those, you know, and man, is he good. And of course, John Daly's not in the music business, but he's in some kind of business. I love John Daly. But, boy, he loves the Hogs now. I think his son's coming to Arkansas as well, too.
He is. I talked to John a couple of months ago, and I've gotten to know him a little bit. And really, I feel like I mean, he reminds me a little bit of you.
Yeah.
Because once you meet him, he's your friend.
Yeah.
But he's called this show either complaining or opining about
it might depend on what time of day he calls too.
I think we have a limit on that. You can't call after a certain hour.
He loves the Hogs now. I mean, he loves them. But Justin Moore is, he's really good. You know, and he's a good friend of mine as well. Was the last time I was here too.
Yeah, you know when things aren't going good when suddenly you can't get John Daly or Justin Moore to return your calls.
No doubt. That means they're getting ready to whack. I'm getting ready to get rid of.
That's when you need to start preparing the. I've really enjoyed my time at Arkansas, and I wish them well.
That's true. That is true. I'm gonna watch out for that, Paul.
Coach, it's a pleasure. I know you've talked about the team all day, and I figured we would just kind of kick back and like we were on the lake listening to Yacht Rock Radio. But thanks so much, and thanks for coming on so often.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much.
What a great time with Coach Pittman.
Go Hogs.
If you go back in time, Southwest Conference imploded 26 years ago. Arkansas, South Carolina left for the SEC. Arkansas was in the Southwest Conference a couple of years earlier. Big 12 formed, Colorado bails, Nebraska bails, Missouri and Texas A&M bail. And a lot of it was with disagreement with the way the conference was being run. A lot of people have pointed their fingers at Texas. If you remember, it was 10 years ago that Texas nearly left the Big 12 as well. So since Since '92, Penn State was really the first to start the move. In fact, Arkansas was the first in '91 with South Carolina. Penn State made the move, and then Nebraska came 10 years ago, Rutgers and Maryland in 14, and prior to that, A&M and Missouri. And there's a lot more on the horizon because this is just a tipping point. Remember, Miami went to the ACC, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, and then, of course, Colorado and Utah moved to the Pac-12. So there are a lot of chess pieces up there. But the bottom line is this. Things are changing. When they are going to change, we don't know. But we have rarely, if ever, seen a moment like this in college football history.
Welcome back to this SEC Now expansion special, welcoming Oklahoma and Texas to the league. Dory and Alyssa here. Let's run through a little SEC historical timeline.
I was going to say, everyone get your pen and paper out. We're going to give you some notes. The SEC was founded at a meeting in Knoxville, Tennessee over 2 days in December of 1932. The charter members were Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Sewanee, Tennessee, Tulane, and Vanderbilt.
Now, 3 years later, they would be the first conference to have athletic scholarships. And by the summer of 1940, Martin Connor was named the first commissioner of the Southeastern Conference.
Less than a decade into their existence, the conference faced defections. First, it was Sewanee in 1940, followed almost a quarter century later by Georgia Tech and eventually Tulane, dropping the conference to 10 members.
Now, you got to go another quarter century before there was change within its membership. The SEC expanded. After an exhaustive and very speculative search, they landed on Arkansas and South Carolina, bringing the conference to 12 schools. And that 12 number was important.
Very important, because expanding out to 12 teams allowed them to create 2 divisions and, more importantly, a football championship game, one that in 1992 almost backfired before Antonio Langham saved the day and the SEC. That plan earned a trip towards another national championship.
Now, 2 years later, the SEC left the college football agreement known as the CFA, and following the success of that 92 championship game, the SEC signed a 5-year network deal with CBS, following that up with another package with ESPN for additional primetime cable rights.
Then fast forward to 2012 when the conference again expanded, this time to Missouri and Texas, adding Texas A&M, a team that many speculated they tried to land back in 1991.
That's exactly right. And then what happened 2 years later? Hello, how about?
You were here.
I was here, and we opened up what was the most successful cable launch in the history of cable television, the SEC Network.
With that success of the network came more money, and since cash is king, in July of 2021, 98 years after the SEC was formed, 2 of the most powerful brands in college sports, if I can get it to move, in Oklahoma and Texas accepted membership into the SEC. Here's Paul Feinbaum with more on his thoughts.
For many, it was the shot heard around college football. A bombshell unlike any other.
The It Just Means More conference left the rest of college athletics with its mouth wide open in shock and its collective jaw dropping. When the news broke at 3:40 p.m. on that Wednesday in the middle of 2021 Media Days in Hoover that Texas and Oklahoma were on the verge of joining the Southeastern Conference, it was really years in the making. The SEC has been slowly pulling away from the rest of college football, but with an impenetrable run of national titles, dominance in the NFL draft, titles in nearly every other sport, coupled with a powerhouse media rights deal, two of the biggest brands in collegiate sports realize exactly what everyone else has been saying for a long time. It's impossible to compete with the SEC, so we may as well join them. But the addition of Texas and OU is much more than that. This is the game changer of the new millennium. Something like this has never happened before. And even more upsetting to everyone else, it is not duplicatable. Give credit to Commissioner Greg Sankey and the leadership of the league for not standing still, for resting on its laurels when it would have been so easy to do so. College football is at a tipping point never previously seen. This isn't about today. This is about deep into the future. And while some have debated or even rolled their eyes in the past when the SEC has beaten its chest about its position, almost everyone now is simply shaking their collective heads and vying for second place. The University of Texas and Oklahoma are not only two of the winningest football programs, but they have been good at nearly everything else. They are two of the most easily identified brands, and just the rivalry alone between each other ranks among the most watched and eagerly anticipated matchups of the year in college football. In a reasonable short time, just consider the Red River rivalry becoming part of the conversation every year with the Iron Bowl, Egg Bowl, in Florida, Georgia. Among the many seminal moments in modern college football history, the 1984 Supreme Court case shattering the NCAA stranglehold on how many times a school could appear on television, the SEC title games, and others to follow to the birth of the BCS and ultimately the CFP, to the conference television networks and NIL, longtime veterans of the league have struggled to come up with a point of reference or time in history that comes close to matching this one. Suddenly, college conferences as we know them will no longer exist. The era of super conference has been born, and the domino effect on the game could be felt for a generation. And back in the SEC, what was taken for granted yesterday, the traditional rivalries, the common opponents, is now up in the air. Sometimes with change, there is apprehension and anxiety. But with this move, there seems to be real joy and excitement in most parts of the footprint. Fans in the SEC are always excited for the fall in football. Yet with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, the excitement level has just been ratcheted up to an all-time high. Welcome, Texas. Welcome, Oklahoma. We can't wait to make our acquaintance on your campus and at an SEC stadium near you.
We've got to put a spotlight on an athlete that maybe you feel like isn't getting enough pub at this point. We love to do that, warning you for the players who are going to be balling out next season. And Shiz says it's Jalen Catalon out of Arkansas that has earned the spotlight. Why is that, Shiz?
Well, because this guy is a flat ball player. You know, when you look at safeties in this league, there's a couple things they got to be able to do. Number one, they have to be able to tackle well in space. They got to be able to run sideline to sideline, and they got to arrive physical. This guy comes and he brings the hat, and he brings everything he's got, all 195 pounds of him. He is a run stopper, and this guy has to be part of the run game to eliminate all the errors up front.
That Arkansas defense played with such a chip on its shoulder last year. I mean, you have to credit, I'm sure, a lot of that to Sam Pittman and Coach Odom for making that defense feel like we can compete with anyone in the SEC.
Yeah, Barry Odom did a great job simplifying and let the guys play. When you see guys like Jalen Catalon, Grant Morgan, guys that you really never heard of, come on the scene and play lights out football. And you know what else I loved about them? Not just they always knew where to be, they knew how to execute their assignment. These guys played hard. They played hard for Barry Odom. They played hard for Sam Pittman. If you get guys that play hard, they're physical, and they know where they're supposed to be, you'll always have a chance to be successful on defense.
You see the numbers for Jalen Catalon there on the screen. He led the team in solo tackles, tied for the lead in interceptions, ranked third in total tackles. So I'm sure he will look to up that just a little bit this year. Let's talk about Arkansas, though, big picture, because there's a lot of returning talent on both the defensive and offensive side of the ball. We know the schedule is tough. Sam Pittman said that at media days. He did not shy away from that. But what do you think Arkansas looks like in their second year under Coach Pittman?
Well, he's building culture there, and there's no question about it. Think about how many guys decided to come back that could have left, whether it was COVID-related or not. Sam Pittman has really kept the lion's share of his football team together, which is extremely impressive. So it's a culture building. I don't think, Alyssa, you can look at the wins and losses at the end of this year and they'll tell the whole story. They love playing for Sam Pittman. Yes, the schedule is brutal, but you're going to see some wins in this thing. And you know what? He's getting the offensive line right. That's kind of his forte, right? He's got running backs. He's got receivers coming back that I think are productive. If they can find a quarterback, whether it's KJ Jefferson, whoever that may be, this team will have a chance to be much improved over last year.
Do you see an under-the-radar win on that schedule somewhere where Arkansas might be an underdog, but you might take them?
Well,
Putting you on the spot here.
Well, no, you're not putting me on the spot, because I'm going to tell you what, the Auburn game could be very interesting. You know, they'll probably go into that game as the underdog. Auburn better be careful. LSU, that is a big-time rivalry game for these guys. I know they got to go to LSU, but you never know. You get a couple of turnovers, you get a few big plays in the special teams game. You never know how that unfolds.
A lot of eyes will also be on that September 11th matchup against Texas for reasons I think SEC fans know very well. 11 teams report on Thursday. We'll see you again back here Thursday night.
Hunter, thank you very much for the time. Great to have you. And how are you as we're getting ready for fall camp and the football season?
Paul, thank you for having me on. And first and foremost, I don't think I've had an opportunity to be on and congratulate you on your contract extension. So congratulations on that. And our football team reports officially tomorrow. Have our first team meeting and then practice on Friday. So the summer is over, and very excited about getting the fall sports season underway here in Fayetteville.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. It's hard to remember back 2 weeks to anything that happened before about this moment during media days when the news broke about Oklahoma and Texas, and we haven't had a chance to get your reaction, especially since you're in that territory out there. How do you feel about, whenever it is, whether it's in 2025 or sooner, the addition of OU and Texas to the SEC?
Well, first and foremost, when you look at it from a Southeastern Conference perspective, it adds two historically successful programs to one of the strongest brands in college athletics, the Southeastern Conference. So it definitively strengthens our position as the leading conference in college athletics. From an Arkansas perspective, we regularly compete because of the proximity of our institutions with the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. We have Texas on our football schedule this year. We have Oklahoma on our men's basketball schedule. We play midweek series with both of those institutions in baseball. Texas is an old Southwest Conference rival, and it makes a lot of sense for us. Our largest alumni bases outside of the state of Arkansas are in Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And so it puts our fan base and our alumni base, it really just strengthens where we are in this region with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma.
And Hunter, certainly the questions that are being asked to us and everyone are really better questions asked to you and your colleagues, because at some point, maybe the process has already started, the conference will begin consulting with people like you to try to figure out the best way to move forward. And I'm asking you the same question we've been asked 1,000 times. What do you think it's going to look like in terms of schedule and permanent rivals when we get to that point?
I think we have an opportunity as athletic administrators in the Southeastern Conference to really take a blank canvas and look at our scheduling model and see how it can be most advantageous first and foremost for the Southeastern Conference, and then how it will work, whether that's regionally with each of our institutions. Because I think what makes conferences special is the ability of your fans to travel back and forth between institutions, and that's really what started conferences. And I think we have that opportunity now with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas in our region. And so we have had some very, very preliminary discussions and really, for lack of a better cliche, spitballing some ideas. But I think we will sit down as administrators and really take this blank canvas and make it advantageous for us moving forward.
Hunter, I'm not asking for proprietary information. I know all of you, men and women, want to sit together at some point and have a conversation about it in addition to what's already happened. But what do you think, other than the big picture, will be the priorities for every different school, especially Arkansas, which, as you mentioned, has close proximity? You want to play your rivals, but you want to be mindful of a fair and balanced schedule as well, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. I think one of the things when you talk to student athletes on each of our campuses, one of the things they want to do is they want to have an opportunity during their 4 to 5 year career to visit each and every SEC campus, and for those fan bases to have an opportunity to visit your campus. And so I think that would be one of my priorities, not speaking for my colleagues, is that we look at a model that allows our student athletes the opportunity, let's talk specifically about football, to visit each SEC campus during the time that they're on your campus. And I think, we still won't, I don't know when the last time we've been to South Carolina. We went to Florida last year because of COVID, but there's some opportunities that our student athletes miss in playing in some very special and historic venues. And that would be one of my priorities, is to come up with a model that allows your student athletes to play in each and every SEC stadium.
We're talking to Hunter Yurachek. Hunter, I know how you and all of your colleagues, for that matter, feel about the commissioner, Greg Sankey, but it just seems, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, that he's almost become a convenient target, because as the commissioner of the SEC, he took that phone call, and I think you probably know what I'm talking about. Commissioners, college presidents. One college president today from Washington State even used the word predatory to describe the SEC as one of the 14 athletic directors in this league who all worked so closely together last year with the conference office to make sure we had a football season. What are your thoughts on some of these shots coming across the bow?
Well, I won't speak specifically to any of the comments. I'll speak to Commissioner Sankey, and he seems like he is always one step ahead. He is looking to the future, not only of the Southeastern Conference, but for college athletics in general. And he is positioning the Southeastern Conference to be a prominent leader in college athletics, and that's really what his role is. He reports to the Southeastern Conference presidents. Those are the men and women who hire him and sign his contracts, and they have charged him with making the Southeastern Conference the best athletic conference in all of college athletics, and he is doing that wonderfully. And I've got the utmost respect for him as a leader, and he's taking some shots right now, but he's taking some shots because he's doing some things that I think others wish they could do.
Let's talk a little bit about Arkansas before we go, and I know every game is important. You mentioned the Texas game the second week. I know how I'm sure that week you will not have time to answer your phone with everyone looking for tickets. But let's start with football. We had a great opportunity 2 weeks ago in Hoover to sit down with Sam Pittman as he gets ready for his second year. There's so much optimism about what is ahead. I'm curious your thoughts on just another year under Coach Pittman and the excitement level building in Northwest Arkansas and across that state.
Yeah, we're really excited about Sam and the fact that he was able to have a spring practice this year, that he wasn't afforded that opportunity because of COVID this year. Further kind of ingrained the culture that he's trying to create, where the coaches trust the players trust the coaches, and the players trust each other. And it's just our team has taken the look of Sam Pittman, just a hardworking, blue-collar, roll-up-your-sleeves, and let's just get the job done. And the excitement in Northwest Arkansas, Paul, is incredible. I mean, we're going to eclipse the 50,000 season ticket sales mark here between our general public sales and our student sales. We're less than 5,000 tickets away from selling out the Texas game. We haven't had a sellout here in quite some time. And that's because of the excitement that Sam Pittman has created and the excitement that our players created last year, going out and winning 3, possibly 4 SEC games last year, competing down to the last minute on 2 more. We could have easily been 6-4 as we were 3-7. And our kids just went out and played hard. They believe in Sam Pittman. They believe in the staff that he has surrounded himself with, and has really energized our entire state and gotten them excited about football again.
Hunter, before you go, and this is a question I really had hoped never to ask again, but unfortunately circumstances have changed. But a year ago we had so many conversations with you and your colleagues about COVID, and it is back in the news again, front and center. It's on everyone's mind, and we are 4 weeks away from the beginning of college football season. What are your biggest concerns as we get closer to the season in relation to COVID?
Yeah, I'm still optimistic that we'll be able to compete and have full seasons this year, but I would be lying to you, Paul, if I didn't tell you that I've had some concerns that have really come to the forefront again here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And, for me, it's not a political thing. My number one responsibility as a director of athletics is to look out for the health, safety, and well-being of our student athletes. And the SEC Medical Task Force and some of the protocols they presented to us this time last year allowed us to have a very successful athletic season across the Southeastern Conference. And many of those protocols, because of some of the things that are going on in our state, are not possible right now. And so I just want to be able to provide our student athletes with the opportunity to safely compete. And if that means wearing masks, that means wearing masks. If that means being vaccinated, that means being vaccinated. But that's it. This is not a political issue for me. I know it is a political issue across our country, but I'm just responsible for the safety, health, and well-being of our student athletes and the athletic department staff here at the University of Arkansas.
Hunter Yurachek, the Vice Chancellor and Athletic Director at the University of Arkansas. Hunter, thank you very, very much. We look forward to hopefully seeing you this year throughout the season, and it's always great to have you on.
Thank you very much for your time, Paul, and congratulations again on that contract extension. Let's not let that Texas-Oklahoma announcement overshadow your extension.
No, in fact, I had forgotten about it after 2 weeks ago when the OU Texas thing came out.
Coming in at number 1,
physical freak, Traylon Burks. And this is a guy where when you look at it yards per game, when it comes to the receiving game, he's number 1 returning. But this is a target that's always open. When he's covered, he's open. When he's uncovered, he's open. If he's got a guy that's up on him, you can cut it short and take it the distance. He's a guy that can get behind defenses. He's 6'2" or 3", 225 pounds. Think about how physically imposing that has to be for a defensive back.
He talked about Jalen Catalan in practice every single day. That has helped him get better. And he also said, hey, watching Eric Musselman's squad, basketball have so much success, he goes, why not us? He's bringing that mentality to Sam Pittman's team. We know what Mike Leach's system is, and it's been very successful in his coaching career. Still trying to figure that out for Sam Pittman, but you go back and look at what the Arkansas Razorbacks did, especially early in the season. Defensively, they were fantastic. With that being said, how does he kind of take it to that next level out in Fayetteville?
Well, in this system of Kendall Browse, it's all about the quarterback. This is a quarterback-friendly system. And I'll go back to last year when they had Felipe Franks. He breaks the school record for completion percentage. What does that mean? That means it's quarterback friendly. You can learn it quick. That was in a COVID year, PB. So now, is KJ Jefferson going to take the reins? Go back to the Missouri game last year where he tore it up. A lot of hope there, but they're going to have to develop a quarterback in this system.
Well, but also the best thing that helps with the quarterback is having some guys around him as well. Enough playmakers there for the Arkansas Razorbacks, you think, whether running back or wide receivers that say, yeah, KJ's in good hands?
Well, I think so, but more than anything, you're looking at an entire offensive line, PB, that is returning. What is Sam Pittman's trade? He's an offensive line dude. So you expect this offensive line to be much better.
For that being said, what does success look like? 3 wins last year. Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it going to a bowl? Because you play in the hardest division in all of college football, the SEC West.
Well, and their schedule's brutal. I would say that you can look for these guys to be in a bowl game. You've seen progression in 1 year on the defensive side of the ball. If they'll continue to do that on the offensive side of the ball, I don't think 6 wins is out of the question at all.
Number 2?
Yes, Traylon Smith. You know what? Not a lot of people know about this guy, but I love what he did and came in last year when Rakeem Boyd got hurt, and this guy never looked back. He's got home run potential. He's physical. He's 5'9", right around 200 pounds. He's physical, but this guy can take it the distance. I love his vision.
I love your pinned tweet. I love the message. Remember the walk-on, not the All-American.
Yeah.
Why is that your mantra?
I feel like that's the way I work. That's the way I live my life. I don't want the flashy lights. I want to be able to remind myself every day, you were a walk-on, like work like it. So I want everyone else to remember me as my work ethic. Remember me how I act every day. Remember me as the guy who walked on and didn't have any stars next to my name and no one knew who I was. I saw Josh Doxson, a TCU receiver, a long time ago say it, and that stuck with me when I decided to walk on. And I said, I'm going to do this tweet one day.
How many places have you lived?
This is my 26th place to live. 25th or 6th, I always say 26.
How old are you?
I am 23.
Okay, I'm not good at math, but I know that's less than one per year. Yeah. So what's that like?
I wouldn't change it for anything. You don't get the same experience everywhere, so I think it's prepared me more than for life after football, after when I go in the real world. I think I can kind of handle any situation that's thrown my way because I've been in it. We've lived in bad places, we lived in good places, we lived in anywhere in between. Country with 1,000 acres to a inner city home, so it's definitely been an experience, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Define the culture shift that came when the Chad Morris Arkansas Razorbacks became the Sam Pittman Arkansas Razorback.
I think the one thing that changed was the willingness to work. As a player and as like a leader on the team, I think to see the team buy into a culture change, we went from having, we're almost there, we have a secret sauce, to having there's no secret sauce, all you're going to do is work hard. And I think the type of kids we have in Arkansas, they want to work hard. And that's all we've done with Pittman, and they bought into it more than ever. To be able to sit there and to be able to watch our team work out, like if y'all ever came out to a workout, you'd sit there and be like, there's no one out working these guys.
Your backflips are, I mean, this is a thing of beauty. What's the key to pulling that off?
I'd like to say hard work and practice, but I don't practice that very often. So when I was younger, I told my mom I want to do a backflip one day when I make the NFL, and I want to do a backflip in the end zone when I score. So she put me in gymnastics and tumbling and a trampoline class to like learn all of that. So I do all the tumbling, I can do all the round off back handspring backflip, I can do all that. And so that was my first time my teammates ever saw me do a backflip. I figured why not after the Ole Miss game, after I just had a heck of a game. I was just glad I didn't hurt myself during, so I'm sure Pittman was
Because that's
too.
what you don't want to do.
We've not been to Fayetteville since Coach Pittman got there. But from our seats, there is a palpable, noticeable momentum, not only within the program, but the fan base is galvanized. How would you assess that, and how does it feel?
We feel it too. The players and the athletes feel it. I don't think it's just, I know, are you speaking just football or are you speaking all sports programs? Because when I say...
Coach Muss is doing it in hoops too.
Oh,
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Baseball team ain't bad.
It's not pressure on us, but it's like, it's motivation for every player. It's like, we want to be good too. Like, we want to be the studs of the town too. Like, and like, we have so many good teams. Like, we won 9 SEC championships this year, Arkansas did, like over all the sports. That momentum alone just shows like we're a winning program in Fayetteville. Like, hats off to our AD, Hunter Yurachek. Like, he's doing the right things. He's getting coaches that like, and honestly, like I hate to say it, but like they're all just kind of like Pittman where they want to work hard. And that's Arkansas, like that's blue collar. Like Arkansas is not a flashy state. Like no NFL teams, no amusement parks. Like we're just hardworking people who are dependable, and that's just what we all do up there.
So Grant Morgan likes his AD, and how about how tough he is? Take a look at the spill. They shared some video, also trying to validate that it was indeed at a scrimmage and not on a motorcycle. The reason why he said that was because take a look at the tweet. Busted up, little face. How's that, Stench?
Jacked up heavily. But look at that. I mean, look at the steely gaze. He's not fazed by the fact he took a couple of 7 studs to the grill.
No, no filter there, right there.
We're going to have some video game fun of our own, though. You've played NCAA, Madden, and you know that the players across the games are ranked with how good they are in certain categories. So we're going to go the 99 club, starting with awareness. So who in the SEC, Stench, are you giving a 99 to in the awareness category?
Well, a lot of people are going to think I'm going to go with a quarterback right here, but who would be the quarterback of a defense? It would be the safety, and Jalen Catalon for Arkansas. And this is a guy who 99 tackles a season ago. 51 of those were solo. He always took great angles, and he was always around the football. So he caused a couple of fumbles, had a recovery, 3 interceptions. He's just a playmaker. And when you look at him, you don't think big physical presence, 5'10", about 200 pounds, but he's one of those guys that understands what they're trying to do defensively, and more importantly, he understands what you're trying to do offensively. Always gets to where the football's going to be. It's like a Wayne Gretzky. I'm going to go where the cup is going to end up.
I like that. And speaking of awareness, isn't Catalan the one who goes like hunting with his bare hands and with like a banana knife or something in the woods?
Banana
Probably.
knife. With these bananas.
Yes, sir. Look at you.
Living room.
Look at you, man. What's going on? It's good to see you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's up, big time?
How you doing, man?
Amazing. Good to see you. What's up?
Doing great, guys.
I'm not going to say you got cheated a year ago, but you didn't get to experience, media days. Now here you are. How's it going?
Kind of feel cheated now because it's so much fun. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a lot of fun. I was a little nervous about the opening statements or whatever that kind of stuff is, but I prepared for it, and I stood up from my wife and read it, and all that kind of stuff. And I think none of it was like what I had planned on doing, but hopefully it was okay.
Why do you work so well at Arkansas? What is it that you love so much about it?
People, passion for the Razorbacks. I mean, and I know there's passionate people but it's the whole damn state. I know y'all celebrities, you got to deal with all this stuff all the time. I never was. And so when I walk out of my house, it's a different deal, and it's wonderful. I never get tired of it. But they're treating me like somebody I'm not. I'm just this old boy from Oklahoma,
Any of our buddies down there, I'm real close with Justin Moore. They say all the time, it's the pro team, it's the only team. There is nothing else. And they are the most passionate. John Daly, they are the most.
Oh, my Lord.
How about him? You got any stories about him you can share that are suitable, that are suitable for television?
Are we on TV? No.
I love Sam Pittman. I think he's done a great job. I especially like the way that he has shown his loyalty to the players.
Hey, he's winning the SEC right now.
The best. Best coach ever.
Can't beat it. Whoop pig.
Yeah.
Whoop pig. Do it.
Not only are you in the SEC West, which is the hardest damn division on the planet, you also go, well, you know what? In week 2 in 2021, let's just bring the Longhorns to town.
Texas, not Texas something, just Texas. University of Texas, And then you go back to Georgia. I've been there 2 years to Arkansas. Is Georgia in the SEC West?
Yeah.
We played them 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And, Kirby and I got plenty of money. We won't see each other. We can get to go on vacation somewhere together. SEC needs to quit doing me a favor. I'm good, In my talk today, I said, well, we had the toughest schedule in football last year. We're defending national champions for that this year, and we're going to three-peat on it next year. And it's true.
It's true.
That's why a lot of people, I think, were afraid of the job. I get it, career, just kill their career, all this kind of stuff. None of that I cared about. I want to be the head coach of Arkansas. To say I'm proud of you guys, understatement. You do everything that we've asked you to do since we've been here. Everything. Do we believe?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, baby. Our kids believe we can win them all. I promise you, they really do, and so does our coaching staff. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, that's not coach speak. Our team looks like an SEC football team, averaging 316 on the O-line. I mean, we got some size now.
Yeah.
So
it's the barbecue eating guys.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I say, hey, now don't let this NIL separate us now. Because if I was giving out barbecue, I'd give it out to the whole damn team. And Trey Knox has got PetSmart, or one of them. I said, hell, if I was giving that out, everybody would have dog food or a parakeet or something. You know what I mean? but I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I said, hey, now we ain't gonna separate the team.
Right.
Now you want to get some dog food or something like that? Catch a touchdown pass, knock somebody out, get a sack fumble. That'll help your NIL now.
Oh, that reminds me, too. We mentioned it during our radio show, and people started sending us this picture of you, and you got your Pittsburgh State uniform on, go Gorillas, and you were sitting on the bench. And it wasn't until I've been looking at this picture for 2 hours. All of a sudden I was like, is that a Coors Light?
There's a cold silver bullet sitting right by your foot.
So that was a spring game. And I had ACL surgery, but I wanted to get out there a play or two. So I just told the left tackle, I say, don't block me. You know, I ain't going to make the play, but I want to just come out here for. And then after I got done, I said I'd brought the igloo.
Yeah.
And some silver bullets. And I told the fellas, I said, hey, I'm just going to sit over here and drink some beer, and you're more than welcome to come over here and do it with me. And I sat over there and had me a few drinks during the game.
Where did Fire Up the Jukebox come from?
It was spontaneous, Mississippi State win. If I talked, and at the end of it, about this volume, I say, hey, turn that damn jukebox on. All right, baby. Good win. Turn that damn jukebox on. You know, Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
T-shirts, sweaters, got a jukebox in my office. I mean, I'm going to say something like, hey, drive that Cadillac away from me.
Hey, crank up that yacht.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, man, you're the best.
Really appreciate you, brother. Love your spirit so much, brother.
Speaking of blowing your mind, how about players who didn't make the list at all, starting in Arkansas with Jalen Catalon? How is this absolute beast of a man not on the list?
Well, because he's young and people haven't seen him. Arkansas came a million miles on defense last year. This guy's the reason why. He is a phenom. He's going to be a safety for the ages. He'll hit you. He plays the ball great in the air. He always has a knack for being around the football, but he is a true baller in every sense of the word.
Yeah, they're very excited to see what Jalen Catalon can continue to do this season, a huge vocal leader on that team as well.
We have really enjoyed going to campuses and talking to our friends at the student publications. And our final visit of the afternoon, Mason Choate from Arkansas. And Mason, thanks so much for being here, and it's great to see you. And I'm sure it's great to be back into. I hope. I know it is now, and hope it will continue to be a sense of normalcy on that campus.
Yeah, Paul. Thanks for having me. First of all, very happy to be here, and yes, it's great to be back on campus. I will say it's hot here in Fayetteville. I forgot how steep the hill was to walk up, but it's nice to be back in class and, you know, see friends and see athletes on campus. You know, you see the football players, the basketball players. It's a great time to be a Razorback. A lot of great athletic programs on campus.
Well, let's talk about that one that's about to kick off in a week and change. Sam Pittman has been one of our favorite guests here. We've got to meet him finally in Hoover at SEC Media Days. So what is the feeling, the level of excitement for his program?
I think there's a lot of excitement around this program. You know, there's an expectation that you're not going to win double-digit games here in Fayetteville this year, but Sam Pittman is a very likable head coach. The coaches love him, the players love him, and the students love him. He's definitely a fan favorite. There's a lot of super seniors on this team because they wanted to come back and play for Sam Pittman. And you can see, you know, he's already got 17 commits for next year's class, and that's a big deal. That shows that people like him. Some of those players haven't even been on campus yet, so he's a very likable coach and a lot of excitement around this program.
And I don't want to take anything away from the opener against Rice. I mean, it's just, but you know where I'm going here.
Yeah.
The game the next week on the 11th is, you tell me, but it just seems like from a distance it's going to be one of the most anticipated games in Fayetteville in many, many years. Coaches aren't allowed to look ahead, but sports writers can. Tell us about that.
Sports writers can. Yeah, sports writers can. It's going to be a big game. A lot of people are looking ahead to that Texas game. It's a very, very big rivalry. It's a rivalry that we haven't seen in a long time. Me personally, I don't know it like some of the older fans do, but I know it's a big deal, and a lot of people are excited. It'll be the first time probably that Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium is packed full in a long time, definitely the first time since they renovated it. So they might break the record for attendance during that game, and you know, there's some students saying they might storm the field if Arkansas wins it.
Wow, that would be quite a scene. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because I mean, we're so used to packed stadiums in the SEC, and the idea that it's however long it's been. I mean, I think it's indicative of just truly how dreadful this program has been for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to mention the previous regime that was here, but it was rough. And people are happy that things are the way they are. And, Sam Pittman said last year that he was probably the most loved 3-7 coach that there's ever been. So a lot of people are happy that we're winning. I remember a basketball game Sam Pittman was at, walking by the student section, and there were students just yelling at him, 3 wins, coach, please, just 3 wins. And, he delivered. So people are happy with what he's doing, and I think things are just going to get better.
Well, let's talk about the football team, because last year everyone knows, close call, a couple of games that may forever live to be in dispute, but this is a new year. What's the strength of this team?
This is a team that returns a lot of players. Your entire offensive line is back. You return the 2 leading tacklers in Bumper Poole and Grant Morgan in the SEC. Jalen Catalon and Traylon Burks are both first-round talent players. You got a first-year starter in KJ Jefferson at quarterback, who I think is a really talented player. His teammates have bought into him. They love his leadership. And, one of the biggest things is you return Kendall Briles and Barry Odom. Barry Odom had offers from other teams. Sam Pittman said he took a significant pay cut to stay with Arkansas. And so that'll be a big deal to get that defense a little bit better this year, because I think the offense they're going to be good this year.
Talking to Mason Choate about the Razorbacks. So we had a graphic on the screen a minute ago that projections, whatever they may mean, is 6 games. Is that about where you and your colleagues are? What do you think?
There's some seasons of Arkansas football projections that you kind of start in June with they're gonna go 4-8, and we're kind of about to the 8-4, 9-3 season, I would say, as far as the fan base goes. But for me, I can definitely.
By the way, I hate to interrupt. How much do you have to drink to get to 9 wins in a projection?
It's not hard if you're an Arkansas fan. It's not hard because you like to get your hopes up, and you're so used to just having your hopes killed at the end of the year. So it's a big winding road of disappointment. But I think that 5 or 6 games is definitely realistic. I think that they can win at least 3 of the 4 non-conference games. I think Texas is winnable. And then 3 more SEC games, whether that be Missouri, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I think those are all winnable games for Arkansas. So I can definitely see them going 5-7 or 6-6 this year, Paul.
Yeah, that is I don't know if anybody has a more difficult stretch in November at LSU, at Alabama. I mean, that is just insane.
I know Arkansas Razorbacks fans had to be pretty darn happy with what they saw early in the season from Sam Pittman in his first, I kind of want to say year 0 out in Fayetteville. But now, who's going to be their quarterback? No Felipe Franks. Is it going to be KJ Jefferson? But they've got Traylon Burks and a bunch of different playmakers. So, Chiz, when we start looking at this team, what do you know about the Hawks right now?
I know this team is all in, PB. Let's go back to when they hired Sam Pittman. Everyone's like, who's this guy? I mean, why, right?
Right.
I saw a team last year that bought in. They were all in. They got 17 returning starters coming back. And I'm going to tell you something. When you pop on the film of these guys, they play as hard as anybody in the country. Mm-hmm. They started out last year. They won 3 of their first 6. And look, they lost 3 games last year by less than 3 points.
Well, in the Auburn game,
yeah, you could say, yeah. Let's not bring that one up, right?
But so with Pittman, what is it you've seen from a leadership standpoint that he's answered in your mind that we didn't know coming in, that when he got that head coaching gig?
That, when you're an offensive line coach, you're only usually in charge of 15 guys, so you're not sure how everybody is going to react and respond when now you're in charge of 125. This guy's got it. He's got command presence, but more than anything, PB, he's authentic. And when you stand up in front of a room of 125 guys, you better be authentic, because if they think you're a fraud, you're going to lose them day one. And he is authentic, and he has not lost this team. And he will not lose this team.
And he's been fun, right? The fan base has loved it. Put on the jukebox, let it rock and roll. Now, obviously, part of it is hiring a really good staff as well, too. And Barry Odom was an interesting part of that staff. So when you start thinking about what you want to see, like what right now for Arkansas you think, what is it?
I think I know this. The defense, even though they made huge strides last year, they will make more strides under Barry Odom. To me, one of the biggest things that Sam did is he kept Barry Odom on the staff. And look, what Barry did last year is he plugged and played and put guys where he needed to play semi-efficient defense. Well, it was more than that.
With no row camp or anything like that.
That's right. But this year it's going to be better. You know, PB, last year he had to play a lot of 3-down fronts. You're going to see some 4-down fronts. They weren't great at stopping the run last year, so now you're going to see more of that implemented. But it's 2 years in the system under Barry. And again, when you watch the defense play, they execute, they know where they're supposed to be, and they try to play very physical.
Catalan is fantastic as far as being kind of a center fielder. All right, so what is it that you want to see, right? What is it?
I would love to see my man Sam Pittman get 2 marquee upsets that nobody saw coming. And you know what? PB's got a chance week 2.
Week 2, Texas.
Texas coming to town. Wouldn't that be great if they knocked the Longhorns off? I mean, would that place be buzzing?
Do you do the SEC chant then? I'm trying to figure out because
probably so.
Probably, right?
Yeah, probably so. Get it out early, right? But hey, the other thing is, look, you have A&M in Arlington. You go on the road late in the year at LSU. You don't know what LSU is going to be like then. But if they can get a couple of marquee wins, you talk about a fan base in Fayetteville, Arkansas, that is so all in. They know the trajectory of what that program is doing. It'll be nuts.
They've talked about it, like, too, Eric Musselman over there for basketball. They looked at it and said, like, listen, why, if the Hogs can do it right there, why can't we do something special in week 2 against Texas? Maybe that's the one.